Welcome to the Fellowship Podcast, a place where we get to know the people who make up the Baptist Bible Fellowship. In each episode, we sit down with pastors, missionaries, and ministry leaders from across our fellowship to hear their stories, their ministry journey, and a few lessons they've learned along the way. Our goal is simple: to connect leaders, share stories, and strengthen the mission. And now, here's your host, Randy Harp. Let's join the conversation.
Well, hello, welcome to our next episode of the Fellowship Podcast. I hope you've been enjoying these conversations with different leaders, ministry leaders within the Baptist Bible Fellowship International. Excited to have my friend Randy Abell today, just have a conversation with him. He pastors Heartland Baptist Church up in Ames, Iowa. I've had the privilege to be at his church several times. Incredible church. We were just talking before we started recording about some of the victories they've had. So, Randy, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
My privilege.
Yeah. So take just a few minutes. One of the goals of this podcast is just to get to know guys. Share a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you went to church, how you met your wife, some of those things.
Sure. My grandparents were saved in Indianapolis through a ministry of Indianapolis Baptist Temple. And then in God's providence, Indianapolis Baptist Temple came to Bloomington, held their famous tent revival, and then started a church there called Grace Baptist Temple. And that's where I grew up and got saved in Sunday school there as a boy. And that was my home church until I left for the Army and college. And I still go back now and then and visit. My mom and my brother still attend there. And so I grew up in the Bloomington, Indiana area, down in southern Indiana.
Yeah, good. Who were some of the major influencers in your life when you were younger, growing up there?
Well, the teen pastor when I was a teenager was Pat Coleman. He was a BBF missionary, now still a missionary, just not with the BBF, over in Zambia, Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm still dear friends with him. And so he was a good teen pastor. Probably through my college years, I was just close friends with Danny Bowles because his dad was my home church's pastor, and Danny and I were just buddies all through college. And then I developed a real close friendship with Ray Adams when I was in college, and I'm still dear friends with him.
Yeah.
And then my years back in Indiana as an adult, a young adult and all that, Don Robinson was my pastor back at Grace. He was a good man, and he's with the Lord now, but I appreciate him greatly. Just a real solid Bible faithful man.
Yeah. So you didn't graduate high school and go straight to Bible college. You took kind of a military route and then a small business route. Talk just a minute about your military time. I love hearing some of your stories in the military.
Sure. Well, I actually did go to BBC out of high school, but not for ministry. I went for education. I have an education degree. It's my first degree. And then while in Springfield, I joined the Army and started ROTC. Back then it was Southwest Missouri State.
Right.
So I was going to both Southwest Missouri State and Baptist Bible College. And I went through the officer training program, went away to Fort Riley and Fort Dix, New Jersey, and Fort Bragg and Fort Benning and all that stuff. And when I finished college in Springfield, I then went away and spent some time in the Army. And I was a tank commander at first, and then a tank platoon leader when I was a lieutenant, and then finished out commanding an armored cavalry troop as a captain.
Wow.
And there were a lot of fun days and then a lot of rough days, but overall, sure. I enjoyed the Army.
Yeah. Yeah. I love in your office, you've got a shell of a bullet from a can or from.
Yes. When I retired from the Indiana National Guard, My troopers got me it's a wooden replica of a tank shell,
Yeah.
exact weight and dimensions and everything. And
Yeah.
I let people hold it so people can see how heavy tank shells are.
Right.
And
Right.
well, sure, yeah. So that was so I spent a total of 11 years in the U.S. Army,
Hmm.
and
This
not
is
and not all active duty, but a combination of active and National Guard.
yeah. This wasn't on the list of questions I sent you ahead of time. How did the military background, how does that impact how your leadership now in the local church?
Oh, all my assistant pastors would say I'm very task oriented. I want to get stuff done, and I want to get it done quickly, and I want to be efficient and effective.
Yeah.
Probably that's how they might describe that.
Yeah. So then after you retired from the military, did you worked secular jobs before you?
Yeah. So again, I wasn't called to ministry as a young man. In fact, almost comical. I remember when I was at Baptist Bible College, taking education classes and of course Bible classes too, and going to SMS there. I remember telling the Lord, Lord, if you want me to be in the ministry, I will. And I literally felt like He said, I'll let you know. which uh, it, yeah, I mean, it's almost like, okay, well, thanks anyway,
Yeah.
and when I was 35, and so back in Indiana, after I was no longer in the military, I started a landscape business and had a garden center and all that sort of thing. I'd grown up on a farm, so it was an easy transition there. And of course, I was still active in my local church. In fact, I was a deacon
Mm,
for a lot of years,
yeah.
and a Sunday school teacher. And when I was 35, that's when the Lord said, "Okay, I'm letting you know." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wow, where was this, 13 years ago?"
Right. Right.
Um, and so my dear wife, Deanna, and I packed up and sold the house, sold my business, sold it to my brother, and went back to Springfield and went through the graduate school there.
Mm,
Because again, my first degree was in education. I wanted to get a theology degree, and then after that, started looking for a place to start a church.
yeah. So before we get into that, I want to talk to you about moving to Ames, Iowa. Tell us about how you met Deanna. Is there any
Oh,
romantic story behind that or?
there's a great story. I saw her and I thought she was the cutest thing ever, and started. I was going to Park Crest at the time, but then on Sunday nights I started to go where she was going to church, and that was at High Street.
Mm.
Um, and she was actually dating a friend of mine, but he left town for a weekend, and while
Oh
he was
no.
gone, I asked her out. And she would say, well, it wasn't serious with him. I'm like, well, obviously. So and then she was dating another guy. She was dating like three guys, and I remember going to one guy's room and knocked on his door, and he opened it, and I said, I just want to let you know that Deanna's going with me, and you're going to have to find somebody else. And I says,
Oh
let's have
no.
a prayer. And and then I left, and obviously I married her. So
Yeah.
we've been married almost, well, getting close to 40 years.
Wow. Yeah. Praise the Lord for that. So then after you finish up at BBC with your master's degree, tell us how did you hear about Ames and wind up in Ames, Iowa?
Well, back in that day, that would be 2002, 2003, there were pastor email groups. And I wasn't on one, but my home pastor, Don Robinson, was. And he knew I was looking. I mean, I even talked to the missions office about being a missionary to Afghanistan, and they told me no.
Wow.
And I went through all the towns of Indiana, and I mean, I couldn't find a town that didn't already have three independent Baptist churches. And so my home pastor calls me and he goes, "There's a group of people in Ames, Iowa. They want to get a church started. A church had closed down. In fact, it was a BBF church that had closed down.
Hmm.
Um, and again, it was running 25 people, but it closed down, and there's still two families left that want to get a church restarted. And so he connected me with them. And my wife and I came up here thinking, well, we'll just go visit. and I wasn't here a day. And the Lord's like, here you go, buddy.
Oh, there you go.
And for me, Iowa, Indiana, both Midwest states, Ames, Iowa is a university town. I grew up in Bloomington. My home church had a college ministry, so I was slightly familiar with the setting, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we came up here, we rented a Seventh-day Adventist building for the first year. And my first Sunday, there were 17 people.
Mm.
And well, the Lord just really blessed. We've built buildings several times along the way.
Yeah.
And that was in 2003.
Yeah. So talking about building buildings, talk a little bit about the journey and how you bought the property, built the building, a lot of from men in your church and where you're at now, and just
Sure.
kind of tell the end of the story, but how God gave you that property.
Sure. So we found a 2-acre lot, which, you buy what you can afford to buy. So we bought a 2-acre lot, literally remodeled a barn. And the city was extremely gracious because it was pathetic looking.
Mm.
And they were happy that somebody was doing something with it.
Yeah.
So we remodeled a barn on 2 acres, and that's where we started in, the first year of our own building in '04. Grew to like 125, and it was only a 4,000 square foot barn, so just a big house, and obviously had a room running over 100. And then we built onto that and grew to about 350 because the addition we built on was twice the size of the first building.
Mm.
And then of course we're looking for land, which was always the plan. Looking for land, found a 33-acre cornfield, amazingly still in the middle of the city. I mean, it's just like, why is that there? And it's because the farmer didn't want to sell it just for more development. He wanted something special.
Mm.
And so when I heard this, I met with him, told him that we wanted to build a church. And he says, now I'm not going to lower the price, but I will sell it to you. And the price was $1 million. Now, that doesn't seem like much today, but goodness, 15 years ago, that was a lot. And especially for gosh, back then, of the 300 people in my church, I'd led almost all of them to the Lord. So it's
Mm.
almost all just young couples,
Yeah.
and they're all working, living in, there's poor. And but we borrowed the money for to buy the land, and not 4 months later, the mayor calls me. She wants to get a senior citizen development in the city, and she connects me with this guy, and we conclude that he needs to buy 12 of the 33 acres. And we've already concluded we don't need all 33 acres. We'd already done some rough drafts of here's some master plans of the property. So we knew we could sell 12 acres. And it came to the price, and we had done this completely backwards. We didn't say, here's what it's worth, so that's how much what we want. We did the math backwards and said, here's what we need.
Mm.
And we needed 1.2 million to pay off the land and start the civil engineering, the utilities, the parking lot. And we thought if we can get all that done, then we can borrow the money using the land as collateral to build the building. And so, oh my goodness, you should have seen this first meeting, because this guy just thought I was nuts. He goes, I know you paid $1 million for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Why are you being so greedy? I'm like, I'm not being greedy. I need 1.2 million for that 12 acres. And that means we can start developing the land next spring. And he walked out of that meeting. He called and then hung up on me a week later. And then finally says, are you really going to build a church building? I'm like, yes. And he says, okay. So they gave us 1.2 million for 12 acres when we had only paid 1 million for 33. So God literally
A year
gave
before?
us, what's that?
A year before?
Oh, not even.
Yeah.
Not even a year. So God literally gave us our property, which set us up to pay off the land. I mean, our parking lot was $500,000, so we had to get all that infrastructure paid for. Then we go to the bank, and we got to pay off everything. And of course, then they loan us the $4.2 million for the building.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is if any other pastors need somebody to help negotiate, they'll call you and
Well, I can just tell you, God better be in it, and God was in this.
yeah,
And I just knew it. And because our goal was never to make money, our goal was just we need enough money that we can start construction next year.
yeah, yeah,
And I would walk around the property and, the George Mueller prayer. Lord, there's boys and girls in this city that need to know your son, Jesus. Surely you're interested in that.
yeah,
Well, you've got to help us.
yeah,
I pray George Mueller prayers all the time.
yeah, yeah. That's really good. So let's talk about the fellowship just for a minute. You are right now serving as the third vice president over church planning. Talk a little bit about what that looks like. How did you get, you said you grew up kind of in a fellowship church, but how did you get connected or your arm twist or whatever it was to serve in a leadership role within the BBFI? What's that kind of look like? Why did you want to
Well,
do that?
of course, grown up in Grace Baptist Temple in Indiana, strong state fellowship there, went to fellowship, church camps as a teenager. All I've ever known is the Baptist Bible Fellowship, and I love it. I know all of its flaws, and I love it anyway.
Yeah.
And uh, going to Baptist Bible College, of course, helps. Um, and when I came here, the Iowa State Fellowship back in 2003 was just as nice as they could possibly be, encouraged me, met at my construction project for one of their monthly meetings.
Hmm.
I mean, there was no place to sit but in folding chairs on a concrete floor, but they still
Yeah.
came up and prayed, and they gave me some. They gave me some things, like communion sets and chairs and stuff, and
Hmm.
and then they loaned me, the church, $50,000 interest free, because that's how much I was short in getting that first building open.
Oh,
And of course, I paid it all back, but they were just as kind and I'm like, wow, what a great group of guys.
yeah, yeah.
And and then after a while, I was elected as the chairman of the state fellowship and served as the Iowa chairman for I think 12 years.
Hmm.
And then 3, 4 years ago, people started asking me if I wanted to be a vice president. And I frankly, I enjoyed being the Iowa state chairman. Uh, but I'm telling my wife this, and she says, "We need to let God decide." And I'm like, okay, of course. And I told the Lord on the drive to Springfield that year, well, Lord, if somebody walks up to me and says, "Can we nominate you for VP of church planning?" If somebody walks up to me and asks me that, okay, I'll say yes. And I show up in the missions office upstairs, 3 state reps, including Lindsay Sladen, walk up to me and say, "Hey, we'd like to nominate you for VP of church planning." I'm like, okay, Lord, well, uh, I will.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I mean, I love the BBF. I'm willing to serve. I already knew myself well enough to know anything I'm going to do, I'm going to do to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
And I knew we had to get some things going and make some adjustments. And that's sometimes a challenge. But that's why I said yes, because I just think God proved it to me.
Yeah.
And I always try to let God make the decisions.
Yeah. Good. So I think I know the answer to this, working with church planters as much as you do. What's something in the fellowship right now that's exciting to you, or some positive momentum, or uh positive thoughts on the fellowship?
Well, I'll tell you, serving as a national officer will expand your horizons. I mean, I know guys now, and I'm friends with guys now that I would, not that I was, not that I'm unfriendly. If you know me, I'm very friendly, but I just wouldn't have crossed paths with them.
Yeah.
I've just enjoyed getting to know guys from across the country. I mean, how would I be friends with Court Holloway, church planner in Maine, or
Yeah.
Bobby Sharp and church planner in California, and then the up and coast to coast and border to border. I mean, and then the state chairman, and then the sending pastor, the home church of church planners. I mean, I've just really enjoyed getting to know these guys, and it's just been a blessing.
Yeah, that's good. What if you could, let's talk, I want to talk about a few lessons kind of learned along the way or something that you can share with others. If knowing what you know now, if you could go back to yourself when you were first starting out at that church in Ames, what's some advice that you would give yourself, or maybe that you have shared with some of these church planners that you talk to all the time? What's a bit of advice you'd share?
Well, I think uh, making friends of people in ministry who are further down the path
Mm,
than you are.
yeah,
So, to some degree, we feel very comfortable, and I get it, with people that are where we're at in ministry. You know, a young church planter, which I was one, 20 some years ago. Who did I want to hang around? I wanted to hang around people who are, my age or at my place in the ministry. I mean, because you have so much in common.
yeah,
Um, but it was Herb Gilbert who, his son-in-law pastors here in Iowa,
mm,
and he used to preach here almost once a year at one of our meetings, and that was one of his things. Guys, find some people who are further along, further down the path,
yeah,
and he says you're going to have to do the work to make them your friends, but you need to,
yeah,
so you can call them and they know you, and you can say, hey, can we just talk something through? And now, even now, I'm almost 60 and been pastoring here for 23 years, and I still call my friends now
yeah.
and say, "Hey, can I run this by you and tell me if you've been through this?" But those things are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great advice from Herb Gilbert. He shared something very similar to me when I was a church planner in Michigan. And
Sure.
so he was someone that I did that to. I reached out to him and learned a lot from him. So uh a couple of kind of off topic or lighthearted type questions. What's something about you that a lot of people don't know?
Well, probably the Army thing is,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't talk about it much, but
yeah,
I'm sure the Lord used that to mold me a little bit. And here I am a pastor, but I used to be a businessman.
yeah,
And in business, you better have a profit, or what in the world are you doing?
right.
Um, and
Kind of bottom line results
Yeah, bottom
oriented.
line, and what's unlike here, everybody has real clear job descriptions and expectations
Yeah,
that get reviewed, and uh, so I don't know what you call all that, a very real systematic approach to
yeah,
pastoring.
sure. Yeah. All right. I got a few quick hitters and then we're going to be done. Okay. So
Okay,
I want to give
okay.
you a couple options and you tell me what you prefer, reading a book or watching a movie.
A book,
Yeah. What's a better vacation? I know the answer to this. A beach or
beach,
a mountain? You
beach,
don't have to
beach.
finish it. Beach. Uh,
Yeah.
when you live up north, you want to go to the beach.
Yes, I mean, all my life, Indiana or Iowa, so wintertime trip to the beach.
Yeah. My wife tells me anytime we drive more than a few hours, that there better be a beach at the end of the trip or she doesn't
Sure,
want to go.
sure.
College sports or professional sports?
I like NFL football,
Okay. Who's your team?
Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah. Um, Better dessert, cake or pie?
Oh, always pie.
Yeah. Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm over the top morning person.
Yeah. How early do you
I
get up in the morning?
um, Not that I want to, but I'm usually up at 4:30
Mm,
doing devotions, having a cup of coffee, and then I do a weekday Bible reading post, and it's usually up by 5:30.
yeah. Were
So
you always that way or did the military help
I
prepare?
think growing up on a farm, feeding the cattle every morning, then the army, and
Yeah.
then running a landscape business for
Yeah.
12 years, which meant that I needed to be there at 6:30 to get all the assignments laid out.
Yeah. Sure.
So just my whole life, I've been a required morning person, and Now that I can sleep in, I don't. So
Yeah. Yeah. Better pet, a dog or a cat?
neither.
Neither.
Yeah.
Goldfish?
I don't really want pets.
Yeah. Cook at home or eat out?
Combination. I enjoy both.
Okay. Who's your favorite Bible character not named Jesus?
Well, I think a lot of Joshua,
Mm,
uh, because of what, he took the reins after Moses, and
yeah.
you could tell he knew it needed to be done, and yet didn't always feel as secure in
Yeah.
doing it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just was a kind of a take the plow, and here's what we need to do. I mean, I like Joshua a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. If you had one type of food to eat the rest of your life, would it be Mexican food or Italian food?
Asian.
Or okay, I almost threw an Asian
Yeah, I
food.
mean, I've taken you to our Wasabi restaurant here,
Oh
which
yeah.
is an independent, high-end.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, so
It's
yeah,
probably the best orange chicken I've eaten anywhere.
yep, yep, it's delicious.
So now you got me craving that again. So I'm gonna
Well,
have to
there you
go back
go.
up. And
Yeah.
okay, well, hey, well, thanks, Randy, for taking the time to do this. This was fun.
Sure.
For all of our guests, thanks for joining this conversation. We look forward to more conversations down the road. Randy, any parting words of wisdom you want to share before we go?
Well, I just love the Baptist Bible Fellowship, and I know, I mean, hearing the church planner reports. Um, our church planners had over 100 salvations this last Easter. Hearing missionary reports, Bible college reports, state fellowship reports. Man, there is lots of great commission, good stuff being done in the Baptist Bible Fellowship.
Yeah, amen. I agree 100%. Lots of excitement. So it's a good
Yeah,
time to be in the BBFI. So,
yeah.
all right. Thanks, Randy. And thanks again for joining us.